I'm CK. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to build or make a silicone rubber soldering pad. If you've watched some of my other videos, you've seen that I usually use this silicone rubber soldering pad that I got from Austin Ribbon Mics. I'll put a link in the description. However, some people don't have access to this. Somebody from the UK commented that they would love to have one, but they don't ship there. So I thought about it and said, well, why don't I get some 2-part high temperature silicone rubber and make my own? Now, I have never done this before. I've never molded anything except plaster of Paris in grade school 57 years ago. I've looked at a couple of web pages and I've looked halfway at some YouTube videos, but you can't trust those YouTube videos, can you? So we'll dive into it, see how messy it is, see how it works, and see whether I can actually do something that ends up being usable. Hope you enjoy the video. First thing I did off camera is I covered my work surface with a piece of plastic, because even if I don't end up making a solder pad correctly, I guarantee I will make a mess. So what we've got is we're going to use Mold Max 60, which I picked up from Amazon, and it's high temperature up to 560 degrees Fahrenheit, which should be fine for a solder pad. I'm going to be using this little plastic container to make a square pad. You see these little things here? Well, I want to have some indents in one side of the pad. So I'm going to take these old knobs from a kit and a couple of wooden dowels I cut off and put them in there and mold on top of that. So the thickness of the pad is probably going to go to the top of, or near the top, maybe 4 or 5 millimeters below the top of this container. And I'll be doing that in a couple of minutes. We've got mold release, which will spray on everything and helps the silicone rubber break free of the mold when we're done. Have some measuring cups, and we'll have other little things along the way that we might need. For example, I've read that a good thing to do to get the bubbles out of the silicone after you measure it is to agitate it with a electric sander, and I have one of those. So that's the start. That's what we're going to use. I think that's going to be enough. Again, I haven't done this before. We'll see what the heck happens. My first step is going to be to put these little items on the bottom of this container, and I'm going to use some Loctite extreme glue for this. I don't really care much about a lot of the exact positioning of these or whether they're going to stay long term or not. I just want them to stay in place for the amount of time it takes for the silicone to go into the mold and flow around these. So if they move around, if they break free when we take the thing apart, all that is just fine. Now, one thing you might notice is I'm leaving a good bit of distance between the sides of these knobs and the wall of the mold, because I don't want to have any weak side. I cut these dowels in slightly different lengths, and because I was doing it real fast, slightly different angles, but that's okay. Again, I'm not sure this is actually going to take these might rip off later when I've got the mold dried out. Here's a kind of rectangular piece I cut out of something or other. Yeah, this is one thing that I learned from the Austin Ribbon Mic soldering pad, is that having a lot of little indentations is very handy. Now, I hope you understand, I'm not trying to replace what the folks at Austin Ribbon Mics have done. He has made a very nice product that I use daily, and I'm not trying to replace that. I'm just providing a little sample of something you might want to do if you don't have access. Again, if you're overseas and that seller may not be able to ship to you overseas where you are. I'm using a couple of, as you might be able to notice right now, I'm putting a couple of small, like 10 microfarad caps in here to have some little small holes to go into. And one more little piece of wood. I guess I'll put that one right here. And before we do anything else, we'll let that dry off, and we will do something else. Hold on a sec. Let's see what's in this Mold Max stuff. Easy to mix and apply. Directions included. That's a good thing to have directions. Padding. Okay, there is our oh, we got to do this by weight. Vacuum degassing recommended. Well, we're not going to vacuum degas. I could build one of those. Oh, look at this. There's a whole bunch of crap on the instructions, like something in here leaked. Yeah. The stuff leaked out of its packaging. That's not great. And I didn't have my gloves on, so I got it all over my fingers. So I just sprayed a little isopropyl alcohol on my hands and it came right off, but that's annoying. Don't think we need anything else in this box. Nope. Room temperature. Release agent, all kinds of things. Got the whole technical overview. And there's a safety data sheet which contains a whole bunch of safety information. But they're claim that they have lots of directions. I'm reading through this. Stir part A and shake part B thoroughly before dispensing. Using a gram scale, dispense required amounts of A and B into a mixing container and mix for 3 minutes. Scrape the sides. After mixing, vacuum degaussing is recommended to get the air out. A minimum of 29 inches of mercury. That's a pretty strong vacuum. Okay, and then you pour it in. So, you can get XLT on a cure accelerator, which we do not have. And I'm trying to see, so this is 300A by 3B by weight. So if I use 300 grams of A, I would put 3 grams of B in. And again, we're going to have to do that by weight. So now we know what we're going to be doing. I still have to wait for the other thing that I did, gluing those things down to dry. So I'll get the scale ready and then we'll come back out here once my mold is dry. Our little pieces are now in there and glued down. They seem pretty secure. I did screw up a little bit. I should have lacquered the wooden pieces because they're a little rough, and the silicone rubber is probably going to affix to them, but I'm not going to change it now. Now we'll do the interesting part, which is measuring and mixing all this stuff. And I don't know two things. One thing I don't know is I don't know the exact amount of material that's going to fill this up. I could measure it, I could do the calculation, I'm not gonna. But the other thing is I don't know how liquid all this is, so I don't know how easy it'll be to mix and pour. But we'll see. One other interesting thing here is parts A and B are mixed 100A to 3B by weight. Now down here it says oh, I'm sorry, I misread that. Never mind. So we're going to open these up and have a look at what we've got. See if this is actually gooey in here. Yeah, see, I'm a little concerned if it blew the top here. I'm concerned that it may have started curing. Oh, this is very liquid. Okay. I need to start throwing this stuff away somewhere. I'll just set it here right now because again I'm using plastic on my work surface so I don't get it all over everything. Now my scale is set up and it's a tearing scale, so I've got a 1 cup dingus here, and that's 6 grams, and I've taken the 6 grams out. So I'm going to pour some in here and see what the weight looks like. Actually, they do say to stir this, so I will stir this very well. Yeah, you can feel it's definitely thicker at the bottom. But I think it is certainly liquid enough to pour pretty easily once it's all mixed together. Excuse me. So let's pour out, say, 100 grams. See what that looks like. Okay, that's a lot more than 100 grams. It's 139 grams. I'm going to take this up to 200 grams. Even though, again, I'm getting silicone all over everything. So, okay, so that's 279 grams. So I'm going to go up to 300 grams of that. Okay, that's 307 grams. Let me write that down and get rubber all over. And now I'll pour it into here. I'm definitely going to need more than this. Maybe I'll do 600 grams total. Because that'll give me some slop for what doesn't pour out of this mixing container, mixing cup I'm using. And I was thinking about cleanup if this stuff's going to be terrible to clean out of my measuring cups, but since the isopropyl alcohol took it off my hands really easily, I think it'll probably take it off here pretty easily. So now I'm going to just go ahead and tear that out again. And I'm going to do another 300 grams. Which actually seems like it's going to use up most of what I got here. There we go. That's 300 grams. I'll write that down. So that's 600 grams of that. And if there's 3 of the other per 100, that'll be 3 times 6, so it'll be 18 grams of the other stuff, which I'm sure has a name, a technical name beyond the other stuff, but I'm going to call it the other stuff. And you can see inside the container here that it absolutely has picked up some bubbles that I'll have to deal with at some point. Let me get another shop towel here for my gloves. Yep. Knock everything in the shop over. Okay, so 18 grams of the second part. And I'm not very good at arithmetic, so if I've already gotten it wrong, you're probably laughing at me. So we use this one, and that tears out right there. Okay. This probably has a little, it does. Thing, poke it through there. Okay, so 18 grams of this. A little too much, it's 22 grams. I'm going to take some back out. It's 20 grams. That's 19 grams, which is going to be close enough because there's going to be some slop. So, let's pour it in here. Try and get it all out. Now this is supposed to have a 40 minute pot time, which is a lot. Oops. This little stir thing is not very sturdy. Wow. It takes a good bit to mix these together. They don't want to mix. And of course, as I'm mixing this, I'm introducing more bubbles. Again, I should build a little vacuum chamber kind of thing to pull out the bubbles. I did not do that, so I'm not prepared with that today, but I'll probably do that sometime in the next little while if this actually works out and I'm happy with actually molding stuff. They're pretty easy to make. You could actually get a small aquarium and make one with a acrylic top or something that you make to seal it in, but again, I'll sort that out when we come to it, maybe sometime in the future. Okay, this is looking pretty well mixed. I'm not seeing any streaks of the blue material in it. So that's good. Gonna give it a little rest now. And put my stirrer back down and clean off my gloves. And this one thing is absolutely true, is this is a messy thing to do if you're not prepared. So I'm going to squirt my gloves off with some isopropyl. And squirt some into this measuring cup to get the dissolution started. Now, one thing one person did mention was using a electric sander to shake it a little bit to get some of the bubbles out. I've got my eyes protected in case it splashes. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. I know the bubbles aren't all out. If I were making a mold to actually cast something into, I might care a lot more. But for this, I don't care if the substrata has some bubbles in it. Now I'm going to do the pour. We'll see how this goes, folks. Pour it in the center or deepest part, whichever works. As you can see, starting to surround all the little componentry that I've got poked in there. Looks like 600 grams, maybe about what I need. Actually, it may be a little less than what I need, but I think it'll cover everything up. Oops. I want to have enough on top of the little materials I put in there so it's not going to rip or tear. So I would like it, as I said at the beginning, for 4 millimeters below the top. It's probably going to be good. And it's going to be have to be good because that's all I've got. 600 grams of the base material gave me this much. It basically just filled. I'm such an idiot. I forgot to spray the mold release in there. Damn it. Well, we'll see how that works out then. That's a mistake. So that's it. Now it's going to sit and cure for, I'm going to let it cure for 24 hours. And we'll see how it comes out, even when I didn't put the mold release in. I'll go ahead and turn off the cameras and we'll come back tomorrow and see what happens. It's been about 18 hours. I'm not going to wait the full 24 hours because I think it's ready. very firm. I can't feel anything giving inside. Just in the mold it feels somewhat stiffer than the other one I've been using. And you can see there's the parts inside. Now let's try and get this out. Oh, comes off there pretty well. So I guess with this plastic I didn't need the mold release for that. I'm going to use a popsicle stick and I'm going to break a popsicle stick. Let's see how we can get this out. You can see where it's the lighter is where it has separated, the darker is when it's not quite separated yet. So let's just continue. Oh, feeling loose. Again, since I didn't put mold release on the little things I put in it, they're going to be holding it back. But it is, oh, they're actually just going to be coming out with it. That's okay. See if I can get this in here. It's coming. There we go. It's all out. A little bit of the mold went up, or the stuff went up with that side. Let's see if all the stuff that I glued down came loose, but I think if I crack it like I'm doing here, let me get a pair of pliers. The plastic knobs came out very easily. The wood, again, because it's not finished, it's going to be a little more of a pain, I think, and I may tear up some of the rubber doing it, but it's not bad. That came out okay. It came out. That came out. Let's get these rectangular ones out. Give it a little spread. Get the smaller one out. Okay, that split a little bit. I'm not worried about that. Just be aware that this is what happens when you use some porous material. The mold material will adhere to it. Just got to get this long one out. Here we go. Now the little caps. Caps come out really well because they're plastic coated already. Okay. You get an X-Acto knife. And I'll trim this off a little bit. And actually this little split over here, I was going to cut a split anyway to hold wire in there, and I may do another one. Because I find it nice to be able to catch a piece of wire in there for soldering. So we've still got a little glue or something inside here. See if I can get that out. But there it is. I'm pretty pleased with this. I've got a little smudge on my hands from some of the uncured stuff that is on the workbench. If you clean up well, you're not going to have that same problem. In fact, I'm going to give this a little wash here. With some isopropyl alcohol. Yeah, it's not showing anything coming off. So the molded part is actually pretty clean. I'll just clean my hands off here. So I'm pretty satisfied with this. Let's get it over to the workbench and see how it works under actual conditions. All right. I hope this mic is working. Okay, first thing we're going to do is take our soldering iron, which is at 674 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you can see, it's not marking. I mean, it's leaving a little residue, but that rubs right off. So it's not marking this silicone. It's all clean. And if I want to do some soldering, let's find that little split I made. I think it's over here. Yep. Spread this out a little bit. Again, I will say that this is, as I said, it's tougher than the one I've been using. That works fine. I'm going to drip some solder on the pad itself. See what it does. So the wire obviously held well. And now, yep. Okay, the solder did, nope, it's coming right off. I just had to use my thumbnail, and there's no mark from where it was. And as I said, you can take something and put it in the hole to hold it steady or whatever. Lots of options. So this came out really well. Now it's not, again, this is the Austin Ribbon mic solder helper. I'm not trying to replace this. I'm not, if you can get this, if you're in the United States and you can get this, go for it, because it's made for you already and it's a real good unit. But if you're somewhere where you can't get that, if he doesn't ship to your country or whatever, then get some 2-part silicone rubber, high temperature silicone rubber from Amazon or eBay or wherever, or a hobby shop, and make your own. This is real good. I like the dimensions a little bit too. I've made it a little bigger. So that's it. A real successful build of a useful thing. Hope you enjoyed the video.